Joining me now is Democratic Congressman Seth Moulton of Massachusetts. He is on the Armed Services Committee and a Marine Corps veteran who served in Iraq. Nice to see you, Congressman. Good to have you back on the show. So you just heard there, Republican. Thank you. You heard there Republican Senator Rob Portman, along with their Democratic colleague Senator Richard Blumenthal, calling on the Biden administration to reverse course and allow Poland to send fighter jets to Ukraine. Now that Russia is requesting military assistance from China, do you think the White House should reconsider letting Poland send those jets?
Look, I think we should send those jets, but that's very different than American planes enforcing a no-fly zone. I do not think that is wise. I think enforcing a no-fly zone with our own planes, our own pilots, would escalate the war. And Pamela, you said it exactly right. The key here is how do we put more pressure on Putin without playing into his hand and actually escalating the conflict. He wants to turn this into a war versus NATO. We've got to make it clear to the world that this is Russian aggression against Ukraine and nothing more.
It's interesting. So your view is there should be, the U.S. should not be involved in enforcing a no-fly zone. But I know when you were on the show last time, you talked about the importance of strategic ambiguity as well. Would you like to see more of that from the Biden administration when it comes to such things as a no-fly zone and sending in the jets and so forth?
Well, here's what I think they should do, and they've actually started to do this just a little bit. I think we need to put more air defense assets all around Ukraine to make it clear that we are bolstering NATO's defenses. Because what this ultimately does is it puts more pieces on the chessboard that can ultimately be negotiated and divided up in some sort of diplomatic endgame. The challenge with this conflict all along, from long before it started, is that it's very hard to see any diplomatic resolution, any treaty that both sides will agree to. If we put more Patriot batteries, for example, in Poland, as the Biden administration has already begun to do, then at some point in the future, we can negotiate those away. It'll be a win for Putin to take home for his people, and we won't really lose anything because we just brought them there a few weeks ago. That's an example of the kind of additional pressure we need to put on Putin. Look, if we can get those Polish planes to the Ukrainian Air Force, I'm all for it. But I do not think that American pilots should be shooting down Russian warplanes. That will escalate the conflict. That's frankly what Putin wants.
On Friday, President Biden warned Russia that it will pay a, quote, severe price if it uses chemical weapons in Ukraine. Today, the president's national security advisor warned that the U.S. is worried Russia may launch a chemical attack and try to blame it on the U.S. or Ukraine. How concerned are you about this possibility?
I'm very concerned about it. I think it's a very realistic possibility. Look, we've seen Putin use this heinous playbook before. He did it in Syria, he did it in Chechnya. We should expect it, frankly, especially because the war is going badly for him. This is one of the problems, is that we looked at this before it happened and everyone expected a quick military victory, a terrible insurgency because the Ukrainians would fight back. But we thought that Russia would come to a quick military victory. That obviously hasn't happened. It puts Putin in a box. He's really backed into a corner. He doesn't know what to do. And although we're all excited about that for the sake of Ukraine, it actually makes this strategically more complicated and strategically more dangerous.
So the Biden administration has taken off many measures, right? Saying we're not going to put, the U.S. is not going to put troops on the ground. There's going to be, there's not going to be U.S. involvement with a no-fly zone. We're not going to send in jets. So when you hear President Biden say there's going to be a severe price if Putin uses chemical weapons, what should that be?
Well, I actually like the fact that he said there will be a severe price without spelling out exactly what it will be, because I mean, I don't think we should put American troops into Ukraine, but I also don't think it was wise for the president to say that outright. I think we should have left that strategic ambiguity, as you said earlier. So making it clear that Putin will pay a price for chemical weapons without specifying exactly what that price should be, I think that's exactly the right approach.
Earlier in this conversation, you said that escalation is exactly what Putin wants. So you really think that Putin wants to have an escalation with the United States?
Well, look, the way this is going for Putin, he's actually looking at losing what he thought would be an easy war. And he will go down in history as having taken this evil, immoral, illegal action against his neighbor and actually lost the conflict. That's what he's looking at. That's the future that he's starting to see. What can he do to turn that around is make this into a wider war. If this becomes just the opening saga in World War III, then Putin thinks he's much better off. That's the concern that we all have. And on top of that, Pamela, it sounds crazy, but the Russians actually have in their doctrine, in the way that they are trained to fight, this idea that you can escalate in order to de-escalate a conflict. Use a tactical nuke because it will scare your enemy into submission. This is literally written into Russian doctrine. So I believe that escalation is exactly what Putin wants. He wants to go back to his people and say, no, this isn't a war against Ukraine. This is a war against NATO. That's what it's always been. NATO was the aggressor, just like he's trying to make the case, as crazy as it is, that Ukraine is the aggressor. If he's able to do that, he turns this around more in his favor, especially as he explains it to a skeptical domestic audience.
I want to get your reaction to this, Congressman, because we saw Ukraine's President Zelensky visiting injured soldiers in a Kyiv hospital. You're a former Marine Corps officer. I'm curious what you think about the leadership and resolve President Zelensky has shown throughout this crisis.
I can tell you it makes all the difference in the world to have leaders who are on the ground, who go out to the front, not just to comfort the wounded and show solidarity with the troops, but to actually understand what's going on, what is happening in the fight. That's a core tenet of leadership. When I was in Iraq, I made it a point to wake up in the middle of the night and go talk to Marines in my platoon who were out there on post at 3 or 4 in the morning. A lot of officers wouldn't bother to do that, but that's how you know what's really happening. So what Zelensky is doing is he's not just presenting a good image to the world. He's not just showing the resolve of himself as a leader, although he is doing those things. He's also understanding this conflict. He's understanding what his troops are going through, and ultimately that will make him a better strategic decision maker as well.
And it's worth noting he's conducting this visit while the Russian forces are just about 15 miles right outside of Kyiv closing in. So it's just incredible against that backdrop as well. Congressman Seth Moulton, thank you.
Thanks, Pamela.